We are going to now switch gears and let you fans ask the questions to head coach Dwight Mullins.
Um, One thing I noticed going through the first period of the game, it kind of looked like that you guys were kind of testing the defense for Indy. Was that something that you had intentionally done, knowing that we didn't have kind of our A team when we met them in preseason?
Well, I don't think that our game plan had really anything to do with preseason. I mean, preseason is really geared towards individual assessment and evaluation. I know that they keep score, and I know that there's so many variables in the lineups and the rosters that I really focus on the purpose of them, and I felt like we learned a lot. It's good to see your team, or it's good to see players put under pressure like that. You learn a lot about them. You learn what they're really like instead of not knowing until it happens. So, I think, back to your question, there's a certain way that I want our team to play consistently every night, and that's a pressure game and a physical game, and that means getting pucks behind their defensemen, making their defensemen have to turn, and then as they turn, they also know that on the end of that is going to be physicality. And I think when we're playing that way, and again, we still have to find a consistent level of it, but when we're playing that way, it's real difficult. I felt like our best shifts the other night were when we were really pressuring and we were really physical. We put a lot of pressure on the defensemen and made them have to make decisions really quick. I don't think they handled that very well. They turned the puck over a lot that gave us opportunities, and I think that that's the style that we need to play, and that was our focus.
And seeing that we're only 2 games in, and we're going to be kind of behind everybody's schedule up until late January or early February. Does that put you in any concern as far as projecting the season, how you want to play your guys, and some of the matchups coming up throughout the season?
Well, I think that obviously it's important that we win our games, regardless of the consecutiveness of the schedule. If we win our games and take care of our games, it doesn't matter if we have 4 games in hand and they've played 5 games and we've only played 2. We just have to make sure that the challenge in front of us, we do the best that we can to make sure we're successful. And if we do that, it all works itself through. Again, I think that we don't put a lot of attention or pay a lot of attention to standings and things at this point in time. I think we look at the process and we look at the result. And then again, if we focus on that result and not so much about where we are in a standing such situation, it keeps you focused on the task, and that's winning. And the more we win, the standings part of things will take care of themselves over the course of time.
And we got a new player in, Bell, right before the game Saturday. What was your assessment of him? I thought he looked pretty sharp, very quick. But how well do you think he was able to jump into the system and play?
Well, given the circumstances of everything, I thought that he performed really well. I think that there's a whole other level for him. That was his very first professional game. He comes to us on an NHL contract with the New Jersey Devils. He possesses one of the hardest and one of the quickest shots that I've ever seen. He has a proven history of being a dynamic goal scorer. He scored 42 goals last year in a very difficult league. He scored 37 goals the year before that. He's been consistently on championship teams. He brings a lot of characteristics that we want to be a part of our team. That was his first game in 6 months. He hadn't played since his team had been beat out of the playoffs. So, I think that there's room to grow there. But I'll tell you what, there were a lot of natural instinct things and a lot of plays that he made and little plays that he made that I was very impressed with. And I think that over the course of time, as he gets comfortable with how we want to play and he gets more comfortable with himself, I think he can really be a big contributor to our hockey team.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
Great questions there. Anyone else want to come up and ask Coach Mullins a question about the team? Come on down.
Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
I was just wondering, with the departure of Corbin today, you
Yeah.
have 7 defensemen.
Yeah.
And I noticed Saturday night you dressed 7, I believe.
Yeah.
And the first game you dressed 6. Do you decide on that with the opponent, or how do you do that?
You know, a lot of the decisions that are made are based off of maybe the health of the hockey club, and then maybe a game plan going in. Last night on Saturday night, the decision to dress an extra defenseman was based off of the number of forwards that we have that are healthy at this point in time and are available. And so, you know, that decision was basically a pretty easy one. You know, we did make a transaction today that you know, created some space, and all I can tell you is that there's a domino effect, and when you do one thing, another thing will follow. So it'll all start to make sense here in a couple days.
Well, I thought this 3 pairings that you had, the 6 that you used the first night, I thought those guys really worked well together. I thought they played pretty well last Saturday too.
I've been very impressed with the depth that we have on defense. I think that, you know, we, again, I've talked a lot about Donnie Harris and his contributions from day one. I really believe that Donnie has the abilities and the skills and the skill set that he can be, you know, a very, very good professional hockey player. I really believe that, and I think that we have to get him to believe that and get his mindset like that. But, you know, I think that we have this deep defensive core. I like the way that we skate. We have size. You know, we get back to pucks quick. We can get to battles quick. A lot of this game now is being able to, you know, not lose races. And when you have defensemen that can skate and are mobile, they can be just as effective and not necessarily have to be that overly physical. I look at a guy like Ty Wishart, who's spent some time in the National Hockey League, and I mean, he has an unbelievable stick. His stick is so good, it does 90% of the work for him. You watch him manage guys in the corner, and guys can't control the puck because his stick is constantly, you know, causing chaos for them. And, you know, it really helps. And to have somebody like that, you know, other players can emulate now. I catch Troy Rakowski trying to do those things and all that. You know, that's the fun part about the group that we have.
When you have a team that was a little slow starting like we did Saturday night, and we kind of stabilized there toward the end of the period, do you mention that at the intermission? Do you let the leadership take over, or how do you do that?
Well, I think that, you know, the nice thing is that we have a great core that's experienced. I mean, this is the first time that these guys have had to go through things like this, so they understand that, you know, we want to try to let the game develop. And when you're in a circumstance where you have had a layoff like that for 4 or 5 days, you know, you really want to give yourself a few shifts to try to get things kind of on track and get going. I think that, you know, the positive things that we talked about was that, you know, that team that we had played the night before, and we hadn't, and we were heading into the third period, which should have been our best period. We were heading in with a lot more energy, and we should come out successful, and we did. And I think that those are the types of things that you want to remind your hockey team of. You know, sometimes they don't think about the little advantages that you should have. It doesn't always work out that way, but if you think about it, you know, it is an advantage.
You mentioned the numbers dictated how you did the lineup Saturday night. I noticed Sakaris and Wong, neither one have played yet. How are they doing?
Well, you know, obviously Brandon Wong's a player that we're anticipating to get into our lineup. He comes with a great resume as a professional. He's been a constant scorer and an offensive threat his entire time in the East Coast Hockey League and in college. And so, you know, obviously we worked with the Ottawa Senators and recruited him for a certain reason and for a certain piece of our puzzle. And, you know, to not have that, you know, you miss it. I think that we've picked up for it, though, as a group. So, you know, I'm looking forward to, you know, to being able to find a way to get him back into the lineup. You know, Peter Sakaris is a kid that really needs to continue to learn to develop and grow. I think he's maturing. His work ethic is second to none. He really was a very impactful player in training camp. And, you know, I think communication with a player like that is huge, because sometimes if you're not in the lineup, you can get really frustrated. But if you know why, and if you know that there's a purpose, then, you know, not that you're asking players to accept those things, because when a player accepts those kinds of things, then they're not really a competitor, and you don't want that, right? But what you want them to do is understand, and you want them to understand where they are within the pecking order of our hockey team. And Peter's done that, and he'll get his opportunity, and when he does, then it's that eagerness and that preparation that he needs to take advantage to stay in the lineup.
The three lines that you rode Saturday night seem like they're all becoming more cohesive. Do you notice that? Or?
Well, yeah, I think that I think we have the luxury of being able to put a bunch of different combinations together, because I think that we all have some common characteristics. I really do. I think that our team can skate. I think that we have a higher skill level that guys can make plays, but then there's also the physical element. So the more you have that, the more you can kind of mix your combinations up. And I really feel like there's a number of different shuffles that you could make that would really give us the same type of thing. You know, I look at a guy like Matt Lowry, and again, he didn't have the luxury of skating for 4 days last week, and he skated just the one day. And, you know, I really felt like, you know, he came on as the game started to go along too. So as he gets into a rhythm, he's going to be a very effective player for us as well. And I just think we're starting to see the beginnings of that.
I know you always mention you liked Donnie Harris. I thought Danny Hobbs was pretty impressive.
Well, Danny's a high energy guy. And, you know, and when he focuses on the right things, it kind of goes right back to that development thing. When you start to create an identity and you start to understand how you're effective as a hockey player and you stay consistent to that, then your game rounds itself out. Danny's a guy that has the ability to score, but that shouldn't be his main focus. His main focus has to be energy, physicality, creating chaos, energy, those types of things. When he plays that way, then the scoring part and that component starts to shine through as well, because he has that ability and he has that talent. But, you know, it's his ability to skate that really can separate him from other people.
We have 7 goals in 2 games. Of course, 2 guys had 4. The other 3 are all different. Is that good? Your scoring spread out like that?
Well, I'm going to say it's awesome because we're 2-0. But so, you know, I think that if you can have depth in your scoring, you're obviously going to have, you know, success. And again, one of our top scorers, or one of our prospective top scorers, hasn't even played a game for us yet. So, you know, but to rely on just 1 or 2 guys to carry the bulk of your offense, I don't think that you can do that and be successful. So, you know, like I said, we have those intangibles that allow us to use different combinations. And if you get that secondary scoring, you know, you're going to have a good chance to win on most nights.
Congratulations. See you Friday.
Thanks. Thanks.
Woo! All right, Coach. I know you got to get rolling into a camp thing that you're putting on, so we will let you go. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Great. Thanks a lot for everybody. We'll see you on Saturday night. Thanks.
We're Friday.